My name is Erica and I live with my parents. It's been 2 years since I let go of managing my own company, and now I focus on investments as my main business activity, which is going smoothly, so I don't face any financial difficulties. As I approach my 30s, some might worry about me not being married yet, but I have my own dreams, and being able to repay my parents is enough for me. I'm not fixated on the idea of marriage, and because I'm financially stable, I feel no rush to get married. There are various opinions about whether my views are correct, but at least for now, I am living a comfortable life. How about we all go on a trip this weekend? I'm thinking a spa would be nice. That sounds good. I was just discussing with Dad about going somewhere to celebrate our 30th anniversary. That's perfect then. Looking forward to it. I have an older sister who is 3 years older than me, and our parents raised us with care. I didn't go to university because I had my own dreams, but my sister attended a private university. Our parents always prioritized us over themselves and provided us with a lot of financial support, so we want to reciprocate by giving back to them as much as we can. Living in the same house with our parents makes it easier to plan eating out or traveling, and they are happy living with me. It would be nice if your sister could come on the spa trip too. Yes, that's true. I haven't heard back from her recently though, so I have no idea what she's doing. Hopefully our schedules can align. Is that so? That's worrying. I can't even tell if she's checking her emails. It's been 3 years now. Although I live with my parents, my sister has not shown her face or called since she left home. She repeated a year twice at university and was a financial burden on our parents. From that time, we started arguing frequently and eventually stopped talking. I moved to LA to pursue my dreams, but my sister lived at home for several more years. 3 years ago, she got married and has neither visited home nor called since then. It's crazy that she didn't come to greet us when she got married, and even though we want to greet her in-laws and meet them, we can't contact her. What is she thinking? No news is good news, as they say. If she doesn't come home, it means she's managing somehow. Well, as a parent, I think she could at least call, though. Dad, like Mom, is optimistic and has a soft spot for his daughter, but I decided it's not my place to comment. Since my sister is not currently a financial burden on our parents, I guess that's okay. My parents seem to want to rebuild a good family relationship like in the past, and I hope that will happen eventually, but as long as they are healthy, that's enough for me. A year passed in such days. Mom, Dad, let's head out now. Now? Did we have any plans today? There's something I want you both to see. Urging them along, I led my parents to a place. It was a high-end residential area in the city center with impressive homes lining the streets. It was my parents' first time in such a place, and they looked around nervously, but I stopped in front of a luxurious house. Isn't this house wonderful? It looks nice. What about this house? This house is mine. How about we live here together? My sudden proposal confused my parents, but I was serious. I had finally managed to purchase this house 6 months ago and was in a position to move then. The house I acquired was a 7-room luxurious house. It might not be necessary to have such a large house, but since my parents had always dreamed of living in a big house one day, I was happy to make that dream come true. Are you serious? It's like a dream? I can't believe you bought such a house. I wanted to make you happy. Fulfilling your dream makes me happy too. When I told them this, my parents looked at each other, surprised but smiling happily. I know that giving back to one's parents isn't just about giving presents or spending money. Still, I was thrilled to fulfill their longtime dream, and I strongly wish for them to spend even happier days in their old age. 3 years have passed since we started living in this house together, and my investment business is still doing well. Tonight, I thought we'd go out for some delicious steak. The reservation time was approaching, and I was getting ready to leave the house when suddenly the doorbell rang. Wondering why the doorbell would ring at this hour, I checked the camera, Isn't that? Erica, it's me, your sister. Let me in. I hadn't told my sister about buying this house since we had been estranged for many years. So I was surprised when she suddenly showed up, but I decided to let her into the house for the meantime. It seemed our parents hadn't contacted her, so how did she find out about us? It's been a while. I was surprised because there was no contact. I couldn't tell you about moving because we couldn't contact you. How did you? I can't believe you all moved without consulting me, even if you couldn't contact me. I'm family too. That's true? But I almost blamed my sister for her self-centered behavior and for leaving home on her own. But doing that would be a waste of time. My sister has a quick temper and can become violent when angry. I had no idea why she came here after all this time. Anyway, I should avoid causing any trouble. With that thought, I carefully asked my sister how she found out about this house without sounding too harsh. Who told you we moved? Since we went to the same high school, I know a lot of your friends, and I can easily hear about your situation. Really? Although we attended the same high school, I can't imagine she's still in touch with my friends. Besides, I barely keep in contact with my high school friends, and above all, I haven't told them about the move. I thought she knew I started a business and understood that it was doing well. Maybe she found out on her own and decided to visit. But if she says it's from friends, maybe it's better not to dig deeper right now. Anyway, it turned out that our family of 4 would be gathering after a long time. You used to tell me how much better it was to be independent, and now you're living off our parents. What are you talking about? Living in such a big house together, you must be contributing some money, right? Well, actually, contribute money? Maybe she doesn't know the details. She seems to think our parents bought this house, but they couldn't possibly afford it. My sister went to a private university and even had her study abroad paid for. Does she realize how much money our parents have spent on her? It's astonishing that she can say such things without thinking. If she really believes that, it's incredibly naive. I bought this house with my own money. Stop joking. I heard you gave up your company. She scoffed. I didn't give it up, I transferred the business. I'm now earning through investment ventures. You say that, but you basically couldn't manage the company and let it go bankrupt, right? There's no use hiding it. I'm sure that's what happened, knowing you. Her condescending attitude hasn't changed despite the years. I sense that our parents were happy about her unexpected return, but they were actually uncomfortable with her arrogant behavior and lack of prior communication. They didn't say it out loud, but their expressions stiffened, and their smiles from earlier had vanished. It's a natural reaction, and thinking about why she would visit at this hour to have such a conversation sends shivers down my spine. Then, the next thing my sister said shocked us all. I've decided to live here with my husband. Hope that's okay with you. What, suddenly? Does she think I would just accept this? After her haughty attitude just moments ago, what kind of nerve does she have? I'd appreciate it if she toned down the jokes. Even if there are spare rooms in this house, isn't this too presumptuous? You didn't even come to greet us when you got married, and now you drop this bombshell. I'm family too, right? And soon I'll have a child. You might not understand since you have no plans to marry, but showing our parents their grandchild is also a way of honoring them. You're having a baby. Our parents, who had been somber, perked up at the mention of a grandchild. When we go shopping at department stores, they often comment on how cute small children are. I haven't said anything because I'm single, but I know deep down they want grandchildren. Perhaps that's why, even though my sister has been unreasonable towards them, the instant they heard about the grandchild, all was forgiven. Are you really pregnant? How far along are you? Your stomach doesn't look that noticeable yet. I only found out about the pregnancy recently. That's why my body hasn't changed much yet. I'm planning to move soon to get support for the birth, so please help. After saying that, my sister left abruptly. It's astounding how self-centered she can be. Despite her past behavior, it seems she doesn't care. Clearly, my parents' reactions have only encouraged her attitude further. I don't feel like complaining to them. I can't show them a grandchild as a single person, and it's natural to share their happiness about her words. But living together in this house is something I definitely want to avoid. What should I do? What do you think about what she said earlier? We're happy about the baby. After living so selfishly, she's going to be a mother. Maybe she'll start to understand how we feel. My parents didn't say anything about living with my sister, but they seemed genuinely happy about her pregnancy. That's natural for any parent, and there's nothing surprising about it. For them, the joy of having a grandchild probably outweighs any past grievances with my sister. I can't easily forgive her selfishness, and I think she should apologize first, but I want to prioritize my parents' feelings. What do you think about living together with her family? It's her first pregnancy, so I want to help if I can. But if you're against it, I think it's okay to refuse. I understand why you'd be frustrated by her attitude. I deeply understand how you feel. I felt very reassured by my parents' words. Maybe subconsciously, I've been weighing myself against my sister. Despite all the ways I've tried to repay my parents, I was worried that they might prioritize my sister simply because she is pregnant. However, I was relieved to find out that they prioritized my feelings above all. Thank you. Let's make it just for a limited time until she has the baby and settles down. Ideally, I wanted to set clear boundaries, but I decided to welcome my sister for my parents' sake. My parents conveyed this decision to my sister, and she and her husband moved in right away. I had never met her husband before, and they hadn't even come to greet me when they got married. They haven't said anything to me since they started living here. I wasn't particularly looking forward to this, and a week passed with me trying to ignore it. Aren't you going to live on your own? Why all of a sudden? I just bought this house. Can you clear out your study? We want to make it our bedroom. Who does she think she is? Why should I have to leave when I bought this house? There are 7 rooms in the house, 3 of which are used as my parents' bedroom and their hobby rooms. I have 2 rooms for myself, a bedroom and a study. The remaining 2 are currently used as storage for various items. I had given up my bedroom for my sister to use, but it seems her greed has grown. Why do you think you can say such selfish things? It's my house, you know? If I lose my study, I won't have any personal space. So what? That doesn't matter to me. You should stop relying on our parents and live on your own. It's not good to be so dependent on your parents after you're 30. I was upset not only with my sister but also with her husband for saying such things. It seems they don't understand that this house is in my name. They must think that I, who have supposedly run my company into the ground, couldn't possibly afford such a luxurious house. My sister and her husband have been here a while now, and we haven't had much time to talk because I've been busy with investments. I thought there was no need to clarify, but I've reached my limit with my sister's attitude. I think I've said this before, but I bought this house, so please stop making unreasonable demands. That's a lie, obviously. Even I can tell that. You must have made our parents buy it, she said, and went back to her room with her husband. They seem to have no awareness that they are living in someone else's house. But thinking about it more won't improve the situation. I'm also busy with meetings for new investment opportunities, and I don't have time to deal with my sister and her husband. I quickly got ready to go out and headed to the cafe where I had arranged to meet. It was just the right timing, and after about 2 hours of meeting, I returned home. When I arrived and was about to step inside, I saw something unbelievable. What is this? Don't make such a loud noise at this hour. My belongings are thrown out in the yard, and there's even a tent set up. What are you trying to do? Incredibly, all the important documents and items from my study had been thrown out into the yard, and they had even set up a tent. This must mean they want me to leave the house, but it's utterly ridiculous. Unfortunately, my parents were also out, and no one was there to stop my sister and her husband. However, I've had enough of being disrespected like this. I don't know what you're trying to do, but enough is enough. I told you we're making your study our bedroom. You're old enough, you should move out and be independent. People who always rely on their parents should move out and become independent. They said this to me, laughing. I was about to explode with anger, but I knew that if I lashed out, I would be the bad guy. I desperately controlled my rising anger and silently began picking up my belongings from the yard. By the way, your parents are on a spa trip. They won't be back until the day after tomorrow. Enjoy your time in the tent. Ignoring their words, I silently gathered my things and left the house. I went to a hotel and checked in. When I looked at my phone, I saw missed calls from my parents. It seems they were given travel vouchers by my sister and her husband. This was all my sister and her husband's plan. They wanted to kick me out of the house while my parents were away. I can no longer tolerate this. After all their condescending behavior, I cannot forgive them. I'm determined to make them realize their rudeness. With that resolve, I called my parents. Sorry for calling so late. Can we talk for a bit? We're sorry for contacting you late too. The tickets were for today, so we hurried out without much time. My parents sounded happy about their sudden spa trip, but I had no room to consider their feelings. I didn't want to ruin their enjoyable trip, but I decided to speak up. I'm sorry to bother you during your trip, but can you look at the photos I'm about to send? Just a moment. What are these photos? They look like our yard. Who would do such a thing? After you left, they threw all the stuff from my study into the yard. I told them everything about what had just happened. My parents were shocked and speechless for a moment, but that was understandable. For them, it must seem like she's become a part of the family again. They remember the things my sister did in the past, but the fact that she's having a baby and managed to send them on a spa trip overshadows those memories. Just like mistaking a delinquent youth helping an elderly person as being genuinely good, people with generally negative impressions can dramatically change their image with just a little good behavior. However, we must accept reality as it is. I've reached my limit. I thought I could endure it until she gives birth, but I can't anymore. For now, we'll talk to her. Where are you staying, Erica? I've decided to stay at a nearby hotel. Okay. Rest well today. We'll be in touch. It wasn't clear whether my parents were on my side or my sister's, but for now I decided to leave the persuasion to them. Depending on their actions, I will think about my future steps. With these thoughts, I spent about 3 days at the hotel. Then a month passed. I'm back. What's going on? Why suddenly? My sudden return seemed to surprise them, but that was a natural reaction. A month had passed since my sister threw my belongings out, and I had been staying at a hotel. Apparently, my sister and her husband had assumed I had completely left. But there was no way I would leave my house without saying anything. I came back specifically to have an important discussion. I'm planning to sell the house, so pack your things and leave immediately. Are you joking? That's harsh. Have living outside for a month made you lose your mind? My sister and her husband continued to belittle me until the end. But their naive comments could only last for so long. They smiled unknowingly about what was awaiting them in the next few minutes, as I continued sharply. As proof, I brought the deed to the house. Now you see that this house I bought isn't a lie, right? While saying this, I presented them with the land title and other documents. They looked at each other with surprised faces, but that wasn't all. Do they think I just wasted time this past month without taking any action? If so, they are underestimating me too much. I'll say it again. I plan to sell this house, so please pack your things and leave soon. Coming back suddenly and talking about selling the house is unreasonable. You just bought it, right? Why sell it now? I didn't plan to sell it, but since you two keep making selfish demands, I thought maybe if I put it up for sale, you would leave. Who's being selfish? It's impossible to just leave immediately. They seemed very panicked once they realized I was serious, but it was too late to be flustered now. They should deeply regret their previous actions. They became silent after my words. As I was about to return to my hotel, my parents came back. Suddenly, my sister ran to my mother, acting as if she had been bullied. "Mom, listen. Erica suddenly came home and said she's selling the house and that we have to leave. Do something." "Yes, it seems she's gone crazy from living outside. Don't you think, Father? We were planning to leave by next week anyway." Eh? Naturally, I had already discussed this with my parents and had their agreement. Therefore, they weren't surprised at all. Instead, they looked at my sister and her husband with a cold gaze. They must have thought they could convince my parents to side with them, but it was futile. "You knew about this. Erica told us the day she gave us the spa trip. We've heard everything about what you two did. Erica is as important to us as you are, and you've gone too far this time." When we returned from the trip and heard about Erica, we were appalled by all the lies. We wanted you to leave immediately, but Erica asked us to wait, so we kept quiet and endured. Hearing my parents' words, my sister and her husband seemed to realize they were in a difficult position and became awkward. Still, there was no sign of an apology from them. How twisted can their personalities be? It's truly beyond saving. Where can we live after leaving the house? She's pregnant, and it's a tough time ahead. Instead of worrying about your future, why not apologize for your past actions? They showed no remorse for their actions and expected concerns for their future. If they understood the situation, the first thing they should do is apologize. Not understanding even that. It's hard to believe this is my sister. I briefly wondered if all the good traits from our parents had passed to me and none to her, but then I was sure of it. In the end, they never apologized to me. You're the ones who should be apologizing. Telling us to pack up and leave when I'm about to give birth is crazy. That's right. The selfish one is you. Don't you understand yet? Why are you acting so high and mighty in a house that isn't even yours? If you don't like it, before complaining, why don't you just leave? You could never afford to live in such a luxurious house anyway. Who's really being spoiled here? We know you've quit your job. Since that incident, I've been kept informed about my sister and her husband's situation by my parents, so I know everything. It seems my sister had been a homemaker since getting married, but upon becoming pregnant, she intended to live here forever without thinking about us. It seems her husband had also quit his job. Perhaps they thought living in such a luxurious house would mean they wouldn't have to worry about money and could take it easy. I'll let you stay here just for 1 month. Find a place and move out by then. If you break this promise, I'll do to you what was done to me. I left them with those words and returned to the hotel. Afterwards, it seems my parents did all they could, and within a month, my sister and her husband found an apartment where the deposit and key money were significantly reduced. However, since they are unemployed, the place they could rent has shared baths and toilets, and the apartment itself is quite old. The couple argues daily about whose fault it is for ending up like this, but it's no longer any of my concern. Even my parents have lost all patience with my sister, pregnant or not, and have no intention of supporting her. Hopefully, this experience teaches my sister that she and her husband need to support their family by themselves. Later, I decided not to sell the house but to rent it out. I told my sister and her husband that it was sold, but I wasn't ready to sell it as it was still newly bought. I had bought the house thinking it would be a good real estate investment in the future. Therefore, it was easy to find a tenant, and now I'm earning rental income from it. Being able to distance myself from my sister and her husband while increasing my income is a relief. My parents and I are now living together in a downtown skyscraper. After this ordeal, my parents have no more expectations from my sister and her husband. It's unlikely we will have any further dealings with them. I intend to continue living my life, repaying my parents for all they've done, ensuring I never become an unreasonable person like my sister. It's unlikely that a good future awaits her, no matter what difficulties befall my sister and her husband in the future. We have no intention of helping them. They have chosen their path, and it's only right they face the consequences. I plan to continue leading a joyful life, always grateful to my parents,